And this is going to sound quite scary for you right now, yeah? The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran whatsoever. It's found in the Sunnah, and in fact, if you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. No. And I'll tell you why. And I'll give you, hold on. I'm saying this and I'm going to back it up with evidences. Let me repeat my point. We both agree that it's haram and it's wrong to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Okay, good. My premise today, my thesis today is as follows. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all, but is in fact found in the Sunnah. Okay, and listen, if you just read the Quran, it is halal, it would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Tell me how and why. In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before.
Okay, what was that, Surah 16?
Surah Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4. وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. Now the word lam in Arabic, it's what you call harfu nahi lil madi, which means that it's something, a negative term for the past tense. The Mufassirun, they say about this term, about this verse, it talks about breastfeeding women, because when you're breastfeeding you obviously can't menstruate. And it also talks about pregnant women, obviously you don't menstruate.
Okay,
however, at the same time,
verse 4.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about that.
Yes, it does. I'm just.
No. Let me read it out for non-speaking Arabs here. Surah 65 verse 4. As for the women who have reached menopause,
yes.
If you have any doubts, the interim shall be 3 months.
Yeah.
As for those whose menstruation has ceased,
okay, good.
Those who are already
this
pregnant,
is it. Good.
The interim is until they give birth.
This is the verse.
Anyone who reverences Allah, He makes His matters easy.
ولا يئسن من واحد من نسائكم فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحدن. والله لم يحدن.
There's a verse in the Quran where Allah says that.
No, listen, but you're with me here.
Well, I just can't. A woman.
But I'm with you. What's your name again, bro?
Cameron.
Sorry again?
Cameron.
Do you mind if I just, because to other people they might not know what I'm trying to say. So what? Let me just finish what I'm saying and then you can come back. In the Sunnah, there's a hadith. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with those people is because of harm. The hadith says la darar wa la dirar. And I've said before, the reason why is because of the Sunnah, not because of the Quran. Such a verse, la dirar, means you can't inflict harm to anyone else. You know, I'm going to make a point to you today and to the British government. Wait a minute, what did you say? British government? Yes, the British government. I believe that the way they formalize the age of consent is flawed. Let me tell you why. And I'll come back. No, but wallahi, let me come to you. Let me come to you. I'm with you. Cameron, give me a second, please. I beg you, yeah? You know, in Islam, it's haram to have sexual intercourse with anyone who you'll cause harm to. That's why we don't have a problem with the age of consent, let's say, yeah? In this country, a 30-year-old man can have sexual intercourse with a centenarian, a 100-year-old woman. But I'm going to be explicit here, Cameron, yeah? If a 30-year-old man has sexual intercourse with a 100-year-old woman, it's going to cause physical harm and psychological harm. The same two things, which is the reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds in this country. So if that's the case, they should make it illegal for a 30-year-old to have sex with a 100-year-old, just as they made it illegal for under 16s to be having sexual intercourse with over 16s. Now the point is this, Islam, why does it stop certain marriages from taking place? It only stops it on the basis of harm. And that is a case-by-case reality. If somebody, for example, as I've just mentioned, is 30 years old and he's having sexual intercourse with a woman that's 100 years old who's got a hip replacement surgery, that's actually haram. That marriage should not be allowed to take place in Islam. I would actually urge the British government to take this Islamic principle on board, because actually exploitation, both physical and psychological, can take place if a 30-year-old man, fully vitalized, has sexual intercourse with a 100-year-old woman. Now the point is this: the Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. Why? Because you can have a 16-year-old, it's possible. You can have a 16-year-old pre-pubescent, it's possible. You can, in Islam 15 is the max, but in this country 16, it's conceivable to find a 16-year-old woman who's, for example, hasn't menstruated yet. It is conceivable, although it's very unlikely, right? The point is this: in the Islamic discourse, the reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with categories of people, whether it be a 100-year-old woman if you're 30, or a 5-year-old girl if you're 30, yeah, is because of the harm, both psychological and physical, that you'll be causing them. Now I dare you now, you're a Quran alone guy, I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. If you do that, I will take my point back. It doesn't. So that makes it halal then. It makes it halal. So if you're a Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds.
Because it tells you who you should marry. It tells you who
Where?
you should
Where does
marry.
it say that?
Well, it's,
Yeah, you're not allowed to marry your auntie, your mother, and that's
I'm
enough.
not saying that. The criteria of what you should look for in a marriage.
Go on, where does it say that?
Firstly, for Muslim, Allah says that a pure man for a pure woman.
Okay,
Meaning,
fine.
We're talking about belief.
Okay.
Your belief is how pure your belief. For example,
Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent.
No.
One verse.
Let me finish. The criteria for what marriage should be based on, not what it should.
I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book which says that she has to be pubescent.
I've just said that.
So okay, so that makes it halal from your perspective.
No, it doesn't.
From your perspective, it's halal.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It does.
Because the criteria for marriage is defined in the Quran.
Where?
What should be a marriage?
Oh,
in a
and where does it say
partner, and what should be in a
pubescent?
marriage in
Where
a
does it say
partner?
puberty is not?
Firstly, for Muslim, she should have the same belief as you. How can a 5-year-old girl that doesn't know the difference?
Bro,
between
I don't agree with that. We both say it's
know
haram.
what belief is.
Okay, fine.
So why would I marry a
No.
5-year-old? So the criteria is really
This doesn't make sense
So
what
the
you're
first
saying.
criteria
I want
is
you to find me
that a
one thing in the
woman
Quran.
The criteria Allah tells you what is for marriage, not what is
Listen,
not for marriage.
Kamrul,
for marriage?
you know in the Quran it says حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ
Allah
أُمَّهَاتِكُم.
says
It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister, your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry
that believes the way that you
a
believe.
prepubescent?
If you're a Shia, you marry a Shia. If you're a Sunni, then you look for a woman who believes in a Sunni.
Listen,
If
I'm
you're-
not getting an answer here, my friend.
I am, akhi. It's from the Quran.
No, but you're not
Allah
getting me
does
a
not tell
direct verse in the Quran. I want a direct verse. I want a direct verse.
You're telling me in
Go
the
on.
Quran, there is nowhere in the Quran where Allah says a pure man for a pure woman.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, that's what
That's a
I'm
straw
trying
man
to-
argument.
No, it's not.
I want a direct answer to my question
No,
here.
I-
I've just said the criteria for why we're not allowed to marry prepubescent, so let's say women that can't deal with it,
For you mates.
is harm. That comes from the Sunnah. Now, the only verse in the Quran is وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Don't cause your own harm to your own self. But it doesn't say anything about causing harm to others. I'm looking for one verse in the Quran.
That's talking jihad though.
وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. It's only found in the Sunnah. It's only found in the Sunnah.
Because that is an addition.
That's the
And
problem now with the Quran
No,
alone.
it's not. Because I give the answer for what is
That's
the
the problem
criteria
with the
for
Quran
marriage.
alone.
The criteria for the marriage, what you look for your partner, is clearly defined in the Quran.
That's not good enough for me.
A 5-year-old cannot make a distinction in understanding
No,
what
but that's
belief
your
is.
extrapolation. I'm saying get me a verse in the Quran. Direct verse.
No, you can't get a direct verse.
Okay, there you have it.
can't marry a
So you
5-year-old.
can marry a
direct verse in
5-year-old.
Quran that lays out a criteria of what you should look in a partner.
Okay, do you
The
agree with
partner
me
is
that being
a woman,
okay, Kamrul, that's done now. We'll move on. That's done. We'll move on.
No,
No
you've
problem.
not done that.
Okay, give me something.
No, that's not.
Give me
you
something.
You gotta first admit what I'm saying, acknowledge what it is that I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. I do
said that.
acknowledge. Yes, I do acknowledge.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
so
I do. Of
The
course.
criteria in the Quran is defined.
I like this guy. I like you, man. Okay.
So the Quran defines
Now that we've established this point.
what the criteria of marriage is. It doesn't tell us what is
Okay,
not.
thank you. Okay, good.
So-
Let's see if the people are convinced with that. We'll move on.
It doesn't matter.
Now, if they're not convinced, no
You
problem.
can only get
No
convinced
problem.
if they study the very book
If
that
they're not
claims that
convinced,
they
we'll move
follow.
on. Now, second question. The Quran says وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. Now, I'm going to become all controversial on this guy. Yeah? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he never hit his wife, ever. ever.
Absolutely.
Agree with me, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Allahu Akbar.
And he never created hadiths.
Okay,
These are
okay.
innovations
Okay,
by
Camel,
scholars.
Camel.
Remember
Camel.
that. You know, the only
Camel.
hadith that he brought
Camel.
was the Asan al-Hadith. Surah 39 verse 23.
Five.
Allah sent down the best hadith.
Okay, mashallah.
A book that is consistent, relating,
Very nice.
contrasting, repeating.
Yes.
The skins of those who reverence the Lord.
Okay, fine.
This is the
Okay,
hadith
fine,
that
fine.
he brought. He didn't bring anything else, I think.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Have to ask him this. He needs to know.
No, you need to know.
Okay, no. Okay, I need to know. But I need to ask. Okay, he needs to know. I like it. Now you're starting to get some of the. Listen. But before I give you the shovel.
Before I bury you.
Well, hold on.
The shovel.
That's it. What are you talking about, brother? Shovel? No, look, the grave is dug. The grave is dug. You're inside of it. Now look, you've got two options. You can have the humble hand that will take you out of the grave, or you can have the shovel of evidence that will bury you. Now I'm going to be very straightforward with you here. The shovel of evidence is as follows. وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. Forget about everything else. It could mean striking a parable, but it also means to hit. Yeah? وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ. In chapter number 40, in chapter 47 of the Quran, Surah Muhammad, verse 4, where it says if you find in the battle of war, if you see the people that you strive against them, yeah, in war, you can fight them and hit their necks. Darb, the same word you darb. Darb, the word daraba yadribu can range from patting and touching. Hold on, please.
I have to interject.
No, please, allow me, Camel.
One word in the Arabic language that has the most different meanings.
Okay, fine.
That's how you apply
Camel, I'm not disagreeing with you, my friend. Yeah, I do agree. That point, I want to shake your hand and agree.
You'll
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with this point. He's right. I was about to make the same point. Me and you are on the same page now. The word daraba could actually mean striking a parable. It could mean tapping like this, like the tayammum. And it could mean hitting. It could mean beating someone up. Yeah, okay. Now the question is this. The Quran 4:34, it says, وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. If we want to take your approach to the Quran, which is that you don't have the Sunnah next to it. We know the Prophet never touched his wife in that way. We know we don't advocate hitting women and stuff like that, yeah? However, if I was a Quran alone, wallahi, I'll be honest with you, I would look at the Quran.
Inshallah, go to Jannah if you was, yeah.
Okay,
if you have anything but Quran alone, you're mushrikeen, kafirin, zalimun. That's a fact. So my words, that's the Quran. You need to study it
that's fine.
with the right belief.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Even though there's a little bit of controversy there, we might not agree. But here's what I was.
Because you don't study it with the right
you're going to teach me now. But once I ask you, yes, inshallah. What I was going to say to you is this. I don't know why I keep coming to you, brother. What I'm going to say is this, yeah. If you read the Quran just like that, without reference to the Sunnah, to the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that word becomes open to interpretation. A man now, a husband, can decide, okay, well, so like a nice man like you will say, no, this means strike a parable, yeah? Strike a parable. But this guy, okay, maybe not you, right? or someone like me, or some bad guy, right? Who's got more aggressive tendencies. Just look at that word, daraba. Same word that's used for striving. I'm going to do that on my wife. Now the thing is, what restricts that man? Nothing restricts that man as the Quran alone. Why? Because that man now has absolute ability and right to interpret and extrapolate from that verse wherever he wants.
No, does it? Because Surah 30 verse 21, Allah says among his signs is that he created for you spouses, meaning wives.
Yeah, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً.
In order to have tranquility and contentment with each other.
Yeah, okay.
You couldn't get that with a 5-year-old. So he
I agree with that, by the way.
in your heart love and care towards your spouses. In this, there are signs for people who think.
What's that got to do?
Coming back to Surah 4,
yeah, that's fine. But what's that got to do with what I'm saying?
One word has many different meanings.
Yeah.
Why did the narrators who are swimming in Hadith decide to take the interpretation of translation as to beat your wife?
They didn't. That's what I'm saying. That if we look at the Prophet's life, Okay, do you agree with me that Prophet never hit his wife?
Yes, of course.
How do you know that?
Because when I study the very
The Quran doesn't tell you what he did with his wife.
Brother, وَضْرُبُوهُمْ mean اتركوهم, leave them.
Okay, anyway, yeah, good, very good. But how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know the Prophet never hit his wife?
Because when I study the very book,
you know from the Sunnah.
No,
Habibi. I like this. Okay.
When I study the very text that he delivered.
What else? Pedophilia. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia, a wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse, and in fact, let me tell you something else. Let me be completely controversial. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, Campbell. One more. I will tell you something.
You've got to remember one thing. The mainstream Islam that is understood and interpreted by Muslims is translated using Sahih Bukhari Hadith.
Okay.
So people study the Quran to support the narrative.
Okay.
In actual fact, they should study the Quran to
So Campbell, thank you for that discussion, for that point. It's a good point. Yeah. Maghrib. It's time to pray Maghrib. Now the question is this. Do you want to join us? I'm going to go pray Maghrib, okay? It's good talking to you.
Likewise,
Yeah?
I enjoy talking to you.
I'll talk to you later on, yeah?
Inshallah.
Inshallah.